The city never slept. Neon lights flickered across wet asphalt streets, reflecting puddles like shattered mirrors. Somewhere in this endless maze of noise and concrete, a girl ran. Her shoes were torn, her jacket threadbare, and her stomach a constant ache she had grown numb to. But tonight she didn't run for food or money. She ran for a chance, a slim, impossible chance, to save her life. Her name was Lila, 16, though the world had aged her faster than her years. She had lived in the alleys, fought off predators in the shadows, begged for scraps, and somehow survived. But tonight was different. Tonight she was desperate because the sickness inside her chest had become unbearable. Doctors called it rare, expensive, untreatable. And for someone like Lila, untreatable meant the end. She had heard whispers in the city about a man, a billionaire, paralyzed, yet living in a fortress of wealth. They said he was cruel, capricious, untouchable. Yet some rumors suggested he had a soft spot hidden under layers of arrogance and decadence. A small, unlikely soft spot that might, just might, listen to a girl begging for survival. Lila had spent days watching him from the shadows. His carriages, his security, the way he sipped wine as if the world existed only for him. And tonight, under the cover of the city's chaos, she had made a plan. A foolish plan, perhaps, but the only plan she had. She approached the towering glass building, a monolith that swallowed the stars. Inside he waited. Theodore Crane, billionaire, power unmatched. Immobile from the waist down, yet his influence stretched across continents. And tonight, he would decide the fate of a street girl, with nothing but hope and desperation in her eyes. When she stepped into the lobby, the guards stopped her instantly. But Lila didn't falter. She pushed forward, voice trembling but loud. I need to see him, she said. Her words were raw, broken, but they carried urgency, a moment of hesitation. Then a guard's sigh. Perhaps it was pity, or perhaps curiosity. He led her through corridors of glass and steel, past fountains that gleamed under chandelier light, and finally into a room that smelled of old leather and polished wood. And there he was. Theodore Crane, reclining in a wheelchair, his gaze sharp and piercing. He looked at her like one might look at a bug, insignificant and fragile. Yet Lila didn't flinch. She swallowed the fear that clawed at her throat and stepped forward. I need your help, she said. Her voice cracked, but she forced it steady. I'm sick. They say there's a cure, but I can't pay for it. I have nothing. The room went silent. His lips curled into a smirk. Nothing, you say? His voice was low, amused. And you expect me to just help? I can offer you something, she said, desperation rising. Anything. Anything you want, please. He raised an eyebrow. Anything? Her hands shook as she reached into her jacket. From the depths of her tattered coat, she pulled out a small bundle of leftovers she had begged from a restaurant dumpster hours before. Half-eaten sandwiches, a cold bottle of soda, a slice of cake. Take these, she said, placing them in front of him. I'll trade them. For my cure. For a moment he didn't move. And then he laughed. It wasn't a polite chuckle. It wasn't even mild amusement. It was a deep, resonating laugh that echoed in the high ceilings like thunder. You want me to trade my leftovers for your life? His eyes gleamed with dark humor. Do you know what this looks like? Pitiful, laughable. Her knees threatened to buckle, but she forced herself upright. I don't care how it looks. I'm dying, please! Just help me. Theodore leaned forward slightly, his eyes never leaving her. You're bold, he said slowly, almost admiringly. And reckless, and yet, somehow I find that amusing, he paused. The silence stretched. Lila felt her heart hammer against her ribcage. Sweat dripped down her brow. Every second stretched like an eternity. Then he smiled. A small, calculating smile. Fine, I will play your little game. But know this, girl. Nothing is as simple as it seems. Nothing comes free. Her hopes surged like a wave breaking against rocks. I'll do anything, she said. I'll work. Shh, he interrupted, raising a finger. You don't understand. I'm not just asking you to survive. I'm testing you. Your courage, your wit, your heart. The world doesn't give second chances, Lila. I might. You know my name? She stammered. He smirked. Do you think anyone survives on the streets without leaving a trace? I know everything about you. Her stomach dropped. This man, this cruel, twisted titan of wealth, knew her story. Every scraped knee, every cold night, every stolen bite of bread. Yet somehow he was intrigued now, he said, leaning back with that signature smirk. Let's see what you're made of. If you want this cure, you'll have to play my game. And trust me. The stakes are higher than you can imagine. Lila's eyes widened. A game? What kind of game? You'll find out soon enough, he said, laughter dancing in his voice again. But be warned. If you fail, there's no mercy, no second chances. Are you ready? She swallowed hard, fear and determination warring inside her. Her fingers curled into fists. I'm ready, she whispered. For the first time in her life, someone powerful had looked at her. Not with pity, not with disgust, but with interest. And in that fleeting moment, she felt something she hadn't in years. Hope. But as Theodore's laughter faded into the shadows of the room, Lila realized that hope came with a price. And the twist of fate awaiting her was far more dangerous than she could ever imagine. Outside, the city roared on, oblivious to the desperate girl who had just bargained with a billionaire's laughter and lived to face the consequences. Little did she know, the leftovers she offered were the first step in a journey that would push her past hunger, fear, and despair into a world where secrets, power, and betrayal intertwined. And by the time she understood the rules of his game, it might already be too late. Theodore Crane's office was a kingdom of glass and steel, but tonight it felt like a cage. Lila stood at the center of it, her heartbeat a relentless drum in her ears. The leftovers she had brought lay on the polished table, untouched by the billionaire's refined fingers, and yet they were enough to draw him out, enough to spark his twisted curiosity. Sit, he commanded, motioning toward the chair across from him. Lila obeyed, every step heavy with the weight of fear and anticipation. Theodore leaned back, studying her like a hunter sizing up prey. You've got spirit, I'll give you that, he said. But spirit alone won't save you. What do you want me to do? Lila asked, her voice trembling. He smiled, slow and deliberate, like someone savoring the agony of the unknown. Everything, nothing. The line between survival and failure is razor thin. But tonight, we start simple. From a drawer, he pulled out a small box. Inside were several envelopes, each marked with a different symbol, a rose, a star, a key. Choose one, he instructed. Lila's fingers shook as she reached forward, finally picking the envelope marked with a star. Theodore's eyes glinted with amusement. Interesting choice, he murmured. Not obvious. Not cowardly. You may survive longer than I thought. She opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Written in neat, almost cruel handwriting, find the truth hidden in the city. Deliver it to me before midnight. Fail and your cure is gone. What? What does that mean? She asked. It means exactly what it says, Theodore replied, voice smooth like ice. You will face obstacles, Lila. People who lie, who cheat, who will try to stop you. You must uncover the truth they hide. Only then will your cure be within reach. The words sank into her chest like lead. But there was no turning back. The city outside was a labyrinth, and for the next several hours, Lila moved like a shadow among shadows. Her first target was a man named Gideon Marks, a powerful socialite rumored to control a network of illegal clinics. Lila had no idea why he was connected to her cure, but Theodore's instructions were clear. Find the truth. She slipped into a dimly lit alley behind Gideon's club, her heart pounding. 2 guards blocked the entrance. Hunger, fear, and desperation had sharpened her instincts. She darted from shadow to shadow, listening to their conversation. They think they can steal from us, one guard said. No one gets in without payment. Lila bit her lip. Payment. She had nothing but scraps and courage. But she wasn't leaving empty-handed. Not tonight. She waited until they turned their backs, then slipped inside. The club was a swirl of lights, music, and danger. Every laugh, every clink of glasses felt like a countdown to discovery. And then she saw it. A briefcase left unattended near the VIP lounge. Heart racing, she approached. Inside were files, financial records, patient lists, and, her eyes widened, Documents showing Gideon's network had hoarded the rare medicine she needed. The truth. She had found it. Returning to Theodore's tower, Lila's legs ached, but she didn't stop. She delivered the documents to him, panting, soaked in sweat and dirt. Theodore examined the papers, his expression unreadable. Impressive, he finally said. Most would have given up hours ago. He tapped the files. But finding the truth is only the first step. Can you use it? Can you make people listen? Lila nodded. I'll do whatever it takes. Good, he said. Then his tone shifted dark and heavy, because the second part will test not just your courage, but your morality. You will have to decide, how far are you willing to go to survive? Before she could ask, he pressed a button. A screen lit up on the wall, showing live footage of a young boy no older than 10 tied to a chair, fear etched into his small face. Your next task, Theodore said calmly, involves saving him, or letting him face the consequences of my game. Choose wisely. There is no room for hesitation. Lila froze. Her stomach churned. The boy was a stranger, but fear and compassion roared inside her. She understood immediately. This was more than a test of survival. This was a test of her soul. Hours bled into minutes as she traced the boy's location, deciphering clues left in the city's underbelly. Every turn brought danger. Aggressive thugs, locked doors, and desperate lies. Every second counted. Failure wasn't just death. It was the annihilation of her chance to live. Finally, she reached a derelict warehouse at the edge of the river. Shadows danced across broken walls. She could hear the boy whimpering. Her hands shook as she unbound him, whispering reassurances he barely understood. But relief was fleeting. Footsteps echoed behind her. She spun. 2 men stepped from the shadows, weapons glinting under the flickering lights. You shouldn't be here, one said, sneering. This is above your pay grade, street rat. But Lila wasn't a rat. Not tonight. She grabbed a broken pipe, heart hammering, and lunged. Instincts sharpened by months of survival turned her movements lethal. Within minutes, both men were incapacitated. She dragged the boy to safety, racing back to the tower with his terrified hand in hers. Theodore watched silently as she entered the room, holding the boy. He clapped slowly, almost theatrically. Courage, ingenuity, compassion. You might just be remarkable enough to survive this. Lila dropped to her knees, exhausted, every muscle screaming. I did what you asked, she panted. Yes, Theodore said, leaning back with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. But understand this, the final test is coming. One choice, one moment, and it will define not just whether you live, but what kind of person you are. The twist is coming, Lila, and it will be worse than you've imagined. She looked down at the boy, at the city stretching beyond the tower windows. She understood, in a way she hadn't before, that survival was more than hunger, more than medicine. Survival demanded courage, moral strength, and the ability to face unimaginable twists, and Theodore Crane was a master of twists. As the night deepened, the billionaire's laughter echoed in her mind. It was not cruel, not entirely, but it promised something terrifying, a game that would continue until he was satisfied, or until she broke. Outside, the city breathed, indifferent. Inside, Lila braced herself. The first real choice of her life had been made, and the next would be far more dangerous. Theodore Crane's office was silent except for the faint hum of city lights outside. Lila sat on the floor, exhausted, clutching the boy close to her. Her body was trembling, her mind a whirlwind of fear and determination. The documents she had delivered had revealed the hidden network, and she had rescued the child. Yet she knew Theodore's game was far from over. You did well, he said, his voice smooth and calm. But it's time for the ultimate decision. One moment, one choice, and it will define everything. Lila looked at him, a question burning in her eyes. What do you want from me now? He leaned forward, elbows on the glass table. Do you understand the value of trust? Of loyalty? Of sacrifice? Yes, she whispered, though uncertainty gripped her heart. Good, because the final test is not about courage or intelligence. It's about who you are, and what you're willing to do. He pressed a button, and the screen on the wall lit up. Lila's stomach sank. It showed the very child she had saved, now in another location, surrounded by armed men. The image was sharp, deliberate, meant to provoke panic. "Your choice is simple," Theodore continued. "You can save him, but only if you give me something priceless, something permanent, or you can walk away. Leave the child to his fate and secure your own safety. But make no mistake, the decision is yours alone." The words hit her like a physical blow. She had spent hours risking her life for this boy, and now she had to pay an unimaginable price. But what could Theodore want that she had? Her life, her freedom, her integrity? "Tell me," she said, voice trembling but firm. "What exactly do you want?" "The cure," he replied simply. "It's in your hands, Lila. You have it. Or it can be destroyed. The question is, will you save yourself? Or save another?" Her mind raced. The cure, months of searching, desperation, and impossible odds, was finally within reach. But at what cost? Could she betray her own moral compass for survival? The city had grown darker, the streets emptying as midnight approached. Lila ran through the alleys, guided only by the coordinates Theodore had provided. Every shadow seemed alive, every step a gamble. Her thoughts kept drifting to the boy, his small hands, the fear in his eyes. She reached a warehouse, abandoned and looming like a shadow itself. Inside, the child was tied to a chair, surrounded by menacing figures. Lila's heart leapt. There was no time for hesitation. The men noticed her immediately. "Stop right there," one shouted, raising a gun, but Lila didn't stop. She lunged forward, moving faster than she thought possible, fueled by desperation and love. The fight was brutal and chaotic, a blur of hands, fists, and sheer willpower. When it ended, the men lay unconscious, groaning in the shadows. The boy ran into her arms, crying, terrified but safe. Lila held him tightly, feeling a strange mixture of relief and dread. She had saved him, but Theodore's test was not over. Back at the tower, Theodore watched everything unfold through hidden cameras. He leaned back in his chair, a slow smile spreading across his face. The girl had passed the trial of courage. She had risked everything. She had made choices under unimaginable pressure, and now, the final twist. "You've done well, Lila," he said over the speaker system. "But the final lesson is this. The world is never fair. Sometimes survival demands sacrifice. Sometimes it demands heartbreak." Lila felt a chill. She didn't understand. He continued, his voice colder now. "The cure is not in your hands. It never was. The documents you delivered? A test. The child you saved? A test. Every action, every choice. I have been watching, assessing, measuring your worth." Lila's stomach turned. You lied." "All of it?" "Not all," Theodore replied. "You are strong. You are smart. You are capable. But the cure, that is something you will have to earn. Truly earn. And sometimes the cost is more than you expect." Her mind raced. She had risked everything for, what? Another layer of his cruel game? But beneath the anger, beneath the betrayal, a spark of understanding grew. Theodore had designed this not just as a test of survival, but as a test of character. "Tell me, Lila," he said, leaning forward. "Would you sacrifice everything you've gained for another? Or would you protect yourself, even if it means losing the one thing that matters?" Tears welled in her eyes. She looked down at the boy, then back at Theodore. She understood now. The game was not about medicine. It was about morality, choice, and the human heart. The clock struck midnight. Theodore's office transformed from a place of observation into a stage of revelation. Lila had minutes, maybe seconds, to make her decision. Every second was a heartbeat, every heartbeat a lifetime of consequences. She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. Her choice was clear. She had risked her life, faced impossible odds, and fought monsters, both human and internal. Now she would face the ultimate decision. Would she choose herself or the boy? With a trembling hand, she reached for the communication button. "I choose him," she said, voice steady, despite the storm inside her. Theodore Crane's reaction was unreadable. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then slowly he smiled, not cruelly this time, not with malice, but with something rare, respect. "Very well, Lila," he said. "You have chosen wisely. Sometimes the hardest choices define the strongest people. You have proven your heart, and in doing so, you have earned what many could not even imagine. The floor beneath her felt less like a cage and more like the beginning of something new. The boy looked up at her, hope returning to his eyes. And in that moment, Lila understood. Survival was not about selfishness. Survival was about courage, morality, and love. Outside, the city continued its endless pulse, indifferent yet alive. Inside, a street girl had faced a billionaire's twisted game and emerged not just alive, but transformed. The night had tested her limits. The final game had begun, and Lila had won in ways that no one could have predicted. The city skyline glimmered under the first hint of dawn, but inside Theodore Crane's skyscraper, the air was thick with tension. Lila sat with the boy by her side, her heart still racing from the night's ordeal. She had made the choice, the hardest choice of her life, and somehow, against all odds, she had saved him. But the sense of victory was fleeting. Theodore's final words echoed in her mind. Sometimes, the hardest choices define the strongest people. She didn't fully understand their meaning yet. Not until she saw the monitors light up again. The screens showed footage she hadn't seen before, hidden cameras throughout the city, through alleys, apartments, offices. Every action she had taken in the past months, the paths she had walked, the people she had trusted, the moments she had hesitated, were all under scrutiny. It wasn't just a game. It was an experiment. Lila's stomach turned. What is all this?" she whispered. "You've done remarkably well, Lila." Theodore's voice came through the speaker system, calm and precise. "But now you will understand the true nature of the challenge." The monitors flickered, showing a man in a lab coat, opening a small, unassuming box. Lila squinted. Inside was the cure. Her hands instinctively reached for it, though she was still 1,000 miles away. "The cure was never yours to hold," Theodore continued. "Not yet. Every choice you made, every risk you took, was designed to prepare you for what comes next. The true test is not courage or sacrifice or intelligence. It is truth, the truth about the world and the truth about yourself." Lila felt a cold shiver. She had fought for the boy, believing she was acting in a chaotic, cruel world. But now she realized that the chaos had been orchestrated. Every obstacle, every near-death encounter, every betrayal she feared, had been placed there deliberately. She clenched her fists. "Why? Why put me through all of this? Why the games?" Theodore's tone softened almost humanly for the first time. "Because few people can survive life as it truly is. Most falter, surrender, or betray. But some rise. You, Lila, are one of the rare few. And now, the final lesson begins." Suddenly, the building's power cut out, plunging the room into darkness. Sirens blared somewhere below, and the faint sound of running feet echoed through the halls. Lila gripped the boy tighter, instincts kicking in. This was no longer a test. It was a real threat. The monitors flickered back on, showing chaos in the city. People ran screaming, cars collided, lights flashed. And there, in the midst of it all, were men in black suits, Throne Industries security, unmistakable even in the chaos. Lila realized with horror, the world she thought she understood was only a shadow of the truth. The billionaire, the games, the city itself, all connected in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. Then came the message that froze her blood. You are not just fighting for a cure. You are fighting for reality itself. The boy looked up at her, eyes wide. "What's happening, Lila? Are we in danger?" She swallowed hard. "Yes. But I don't know how deep it goes yet." Her mind raced. Theodore had tested her morals, her courage, her intellect. But now, it seemed, he was testing her resilience, the ability to survive truth itself. Theodore appeared on the largest monitor, framed against the city skyline. "Lila," he said, "do you remember the first moment we met? The leftovers. The laughter? Every choice since then was preparation. Every risk, every gamble, every decision you've made has led here. And now, the final twist." The footage shifted, showing events she had never witnessed, people she thought were allies, revealing secret agendas. Her own movements manipulated subtly by unseen forces. The child's life, intertwined with corporate experiments, global conspiracies, and hidden agendas beyond her comprehension. Lila felt her mind spin. This isn't just a game. It's everything. Theodore nodded. Exactly, and only one person can navigate it. Someone with the heart to sacrifice, the mind to strategize, and the courage to face unbearable truths. That person is you, her chest heaved. The weight of the truth pressed down on her, crushing yet oddly liberating. For the first time, she understood the cruel elegance of the billionaire's design. He hadn't wanted to test her survival skills alone. He wanted to test everything about her essence. The boy tugged at her sleeve. Lila, I trust you. Can we fix this? She looked down at him, a surge of resolve replacing the fear. We will. Somehow. No matter what it takes, we will survive this. And in that moment, she realized something remarkable. The shocking twist wasn't just Theodore's revelation. It was her own awakening. She had been molded by adversity, tempered by impossible choices. And now, she had clarity. The city outside continued its chaos, but inside, a new force emerged, one that neither Theodore nor the world had anticipated, Lila's unyielding will. Then let's begin, she whispered. The real challenge starts now. The screens went dark again, leaving her in silence. The boy clung to her, trembling yet trusting. And for the first time, Lila didn't feel afraid. She felt prepared. She had faced death, deception, and despair, and emerged stronger. The billionaire's games had pushed her to the brink, but they had also awakened something profound. The courage to confront not just the world, but the hidden truths that governed it. The shocking twist wasn't a betrayal. It was the opening of a door to power, understanding, and the possibility to rewrite fate itself. As the first rays of sunlight pierced the city skyline, Lila stood tall, gripping the boy's hand. The world had shifted beneath her feet, but she would navigate it. Not just survive, but prevail, and Theodore Crane, the man who had orchestrated it all, would see that she had become far more than he ever imagined. The city had become a storm of chaos, lights flickering and sirens wailing, but inside Theodore Crane's skyscraper, Lila moved with clarity she had never known. Every lesson, every trial, every near-death encounter had prepared her for this moment. The boy's hand clung tightly to hers, and she felt the weight of responsibility settle firmly on her shoulders. Theodore's voice echoed through the building's intercom, calm but commanding. Lila, you've navigated the impossible, but now you must confront the ultimate truth, the cure, the chaos, the city. It's all connected to a choice. One final choice. Will you save the world, or only the boy you love? Lila froze. She had fought to save him, yes, but now she understood. The stakes were far greater. This was no longer about illness or survival. It was about morality, sacrifice, and courage beyond measure. Her mind raced. Save the boy and risk catastrophic consequences for thousands, or act for the greater good and risk losing him forever. The lesson Theodore had been preparing her for all along wasn't simply survival. It was the profound weight of moral responsibility. She led the boy through a maze of corridors, the shadows stretching and twisting like tendrils of fate. Every step brought them closer to the lab where the cure awaited, but also closer to the heart of the conspiracy she had only begun to understand. Screens lit up around them, showing scenes from her past, choices she had made, and the ripples they had caused in the city. Each action, every hesitation had consequences. Lila, the boy whispered, I trust you. Always. Her heart clenched. He had seen her courage, her sacrifices, yet he remained innocent, pure, untouched by the moral maelstrom she now faced. She had to make this right, for him, for the city, for herself. Finally, they reached the lab. The cure glimmered in a secure container, protected by biometric locks and armed defenses. Theodore appeared on a monitor, smiling faintly. You've done well, Lila. But the final test is not strength, not strategy. It is heart. She hesitated, recalling every moment that had led to this choice. The street fights, the desperate pleas, the laughter of a billionaire masking a darker agenda. Every sacrifice had prepared her for this instant. Lila took a deep breath and made her choice. She would not take the easy path. She would not save just the boy, nor would she abandon him. She would find a way to save both, using the ingenuity, courage, and heart she had honed through every trial. Working with the boy at her side, she bypassed the security systems, hacked the controls, and carefully extracted the cure. The alarms blared, guards descended, but she was ready. Every trick she had learned during the months of testing guided her hands and her decisions. Theodore's voice remained calm, almost approving. Impressive. You've understood the lesson. True heroism is not in choosing the safe path, it's in creating a new one. With one final push, she activated the cure distribution system. A wave of relief swept through her as she realized the city's chaos began to stabilize. Hospitals, clinics, and emergency centers received the cure, the illness no longer spreading unchecked. Lives were saved, not just the boys, but thousands of others. Yet even as victory seemed within reach, Theodore's final revelation hit her like a thunderbolt. He appeared on the largest monitor, his expression somber. The city is safe, yes. But the world beyond is still fragile, and the most important truth remains. You were never only fighting for survival. You were fighting to understand the depth of your own courage, the limits of your compassion, and the power of choice. Lila's chest heaved. I understand. I won't fail anymore. Theodore's eyes softened. Good. You've surpassed every expectation. You've turned the game into a story of hope. Then, he vanished from the screen. For the first time, Lila felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. The man who had orchestrated so much of her life's chaos, who had pushed her to extremes, was gone, leaving only lessons behind. The boy looked up at her, his eyes wide. Did we win? Lila smiled, brushing the hair from his forehead. We did. We changed everything. And together we'll make sure the world stays that way. Outside, the city began to breathe again. Streets cleared, lights steadied, and the first rays of dawn reflected off glass towers. But inside Lila, something even more profound had shifted. She had confronted fear, betrayal, impossible choices, and emerged stronger, not just a survivor, but a hero shaped by her own courage. The shocking twists, the life-or-death gambles, the orchestrated chaos, all had led to this: clarity, purpose, and a newfound belief in her own power. She realized, with both humility and pride, that sometimes the greatest victories are not the ones celebrated by the world, but the ones carried quietly within the heart. Lila stood on the rooftop with the boy, looking out over the city. The skyline glimmered with possibilities, a world rebuilt through courage, sacrifice, and love. And as she held the boy close, she whispered to herself, no matter what challenges come, we will face them together. And with that, the story reached its emotional peak, twists unraveled, morality affirmed, and a world changed by the choices of one determined girl who had dared to challenge fate itself.